Welcome back to another episode of the Cameras and Coffee podcast. Today I'm sitting here with Elisabeth from Elisabeth and Photography, and we're going to talk about making senior posing simple.
What, what?
I love it. So excited. Welcome, Liz. I literally, her and I met at the Reset conference, and I was like, I want her on here because her energy is amazing. Everything you taught was so fun. And so I was like, this is the energy I'm trying to put into my senior posing. And so I'm like, how can I make this tangible on a podcast? So we're going to try and break it down without visuals. But if you are a big visual learner, head over to the YouTube channel and kind of watch there, because I'll probably drop some of the images we're talking about if you're like, what? And then Liz will have something to offer at the end. So if you're like, I want to know more about this, we'll talk more. So yes. So Liz, you were probably one of the first people I met when we started the conference. Because
Really?
we sat right next to each other,
True.
like in that first open session. So this was my first time. How many have you been to?
I've gone to, I think, 4 resets now.
Okay.
I have taught at 3, and the first one I attended as an attendee. No, that's not true. I've gone to 5. I've 2 I've gone to, like, attended. And honestly, I don't care if you're an educator or a beginner. Like, it's such a fantastic conference. Like,
yes.
Shameless plug. Like, love Reset. They're absolutely fabulous.
Yes. And the next one, I'm so excited. I'm already signed up.
Oh,
my husband doesn't know, but
I got plans. I cannot wait. I am ready to go down south and enjoy the weather and the, because I'm in Ohio, because March area, we're talking like it's snow one day, it's rain one day, it's slushy one, Ohio. So
we lucked out with this Reset conference and had good weather. So like we got to like do a lot outside, because that's usually when they do the styled shoot portion, you're like, where are we going to go? Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. I'm excited to go to warmer weather that time of year and also get to be like with everybody, because it was in my hometown. So I didn't stay on site or anything. So I'm excited to kind of be out of that and like mingle and get to know and network with everybody. So that's going to be fun.
I will say, like, the experience, I always recommend staying with the Reset group, because the best conversations happen in the evenings when people are like out of their hotel room and we're sitting down by the bar or by wherever eating area or lounge area, and you can just like go up to any educator and be like, just sit down and we'll have deep conversations. 2 years ago, I had a girl that I was chatting with. We chatted for like an hour and a half in the hallway by her door.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I just like sat and talked with Natalie Frank. There's just Rebecca Rice was there this last time. It's just so nice. They're just like open and like talk to me anytime. Like, there's a lot of things that could be happening and going on, and it's just like they're nice, they're real. It was just amazing. So many educators, so many good things. I can't wait. So I will link the referral link below in the show notes. So if you're interested in checking it out and getting a little discount off of your registration, come join us.
Come hang out with us.
And make sure you find me and Liz.
Yes.
We'll be where the party is.
Heck yeah. If you don't have someone to sit with, you come talk with us, man. I'm all about that. I like going up to random people like, you don't have someone? Come here. Be my friend.
I love it. So Liz, tell me a little history about your business. Like, where did you start? You don't have to go super far back. You can just do like your elevator pitch and kind of tell us like, how did you get to where you are today in photographing seniors?
Oh my gosh. It's hard to not do a long conversation on this. I'll do my best to keep it short and sweet. I started with photography actually back in high school. I took a class and I ended up really liking it. And I mean, it was literally one of those, like, I need a filler class. I'm just going to throw it in there. So I took a class. I ended up taking my friends out to take photos. And then my senior photographer ended up seeing some of my content. And she was like, hey, you have a good eye for this. You want to come work for me? So I ended up being hired by another photographer. I worked in back end of a business and then worked my way up to second shooter, then first shooter for weddings. So I exclusively did weddings for years. And then I transitioned to like doing some more family stuff. I thought families were where I was going to go. I actually didn't like photographing seniors, fun fact, which now it's like my bread and butter. I love it. but I think it was just I didn't know how to approach things. And long
Mm.
story short, um, basically I was in this transition period. So fast forward, meet my husband, get married, have my first baby. My first baby turns 2, and then he was diagnosed with autism. So that actually is the reason why I started seniors. So basically what
Mm.
happened, I was doing a senior for a friend. She's like, hey, I can't do this senior, can you do it? I'm like, fantastic, I can do this for her, no problem. um, Tristan was diagnosed with autism, my oldest, and I at the time didn't like seeing myself in front of a camera. I did not ever
Mm.
post myself on social media, and I was so just self-conscious of myself.
Mm.
And then fast forward, of course, when he gets diagnosed, I started to make a realization that, hey, he's quirky, he's wonderful. I love him for that.
Mm.
And if I want him to understand that he doesn't have to adapt to society's standards, I need to do that for myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I started showing up on social media as myself. And
I love
I
that.
photographed that first senior, had this conversation with her, and realized, okay, or wait a second, these seniors need to hear this message as
Yeah.
well. So I started booking a couple more seniors, and I realized, like, this is where my heart's at. This is my calling. I want people to
Mm-hmm.
understand how astounding they are as a human, and I really felt like I connected with the senior crowd for that. So got into
I love it.
seniors full time, like literally jumped headfirst in. And here we are today. I am an educator. I've been doing education for what, I think 5 years now. And I mainly exclusively photograph high school seniors. And then this past year, I opened up a special needs portion of my business just for special needs families. So that's what brought
I
us to
love
today.
it. So I also have a child with autism, diagnosed like so much later. So I think we were starting the journey when they were in third grade.
Mm,
And now they are going to be in eighth, repeated seventh, but going to be in eighth. And it's been quite a journey, but I love how you said like those quirks and things like that, like just emphasizing has really also given me an outlook of like, how can we show the unique aspects. And I feel like this like Gen Z, Gen Alpha is moving into that as well, where
mhm,
they're realizing like I've seen more and more photography where it's like they might have like a diabetic meter or something and they don't care if it's in their photo because that's them. And I'm like, yes,
I
like
love it.
that's a part of you, like express it, you know, like
Hmm.
normalize your life, like don't hide. So I just love that, which is going to like lead us into some of the first things that we're going to talk about, like the importance of what to start with in senior photography. So we're going to dive into that. Um,
Yes.
so you have a couple different like key things that you like to touch. So do you want to break down like the different things that we're going to talk about, or would you rather just like dive into them and like go by one?
Well,
What are
I'll
your
give
thoughts?
everybody a quick overview. So, because I
Okay.
know y'all might be like, okay, where are we going with this? We're going to talk about the fundamentals of posing. So, most people are like, hey, I want to learn how to copy poses. And that's the route a
Hmm.
lot of us go. We're like, okay, just give me a list of what to do. But the problem with
Give me a
that,
Pinterest board.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're like, oh,
Hmm.
I know, we're all guilty. I know, and I have too. Y'all, I have done it too. Y'all have taken screenshots of Pinterest, or you take it on your camera. That way you can view it during a session, be like, oh, here's an
Yep.
idea. Here's an idea. You know, but
Yes.
the problem with that is that you're going back to that over and over again, and you're not making a foundation of how you can remember these poses and
Mm.
how you can adapt to them to work in your own business, in your own model of photography. So
Yes.
we're just going to talk about the foundations and how I basically have built a foundation of how to remember a lot of poses. What do I do to connect with these clients? And things like that. That way you guys have that beginning foundation so that you can grow from that and not feel like you have to go to Pinterest all the time.
Yes. Love it. Yeah, I can't wait to dive into this because, guys, I took her class at Reset on this and I was like, yes. Which, do you want to talk about what happened during your
Oh my
class?
gosh, y'all.
It
Okay.
was the best. The
I'm
way you, I'm just going to preface the way she bounced back from this like whole thing, I was just like, yeah, girl. Like, I love it.
Hear it coming from your point of view, because I know my point of view, obviously. What's your point of view, y'all? I just
well, my point of view is so I was taking pictures of like in video clips and things because I was really I didn't know we were getting slides at the end. So I was like trying to make sure I got as much as I could. Then my phone died. And while I'm like trying to figure it out is when it was all happening.
Oh,
so
you,
so all I remember
have a clip
is I do not have a clip of it, is you covering your mouth. I thought you sneezed and then like ran to the back. I'm like, oh, she must need a tissue. I don't know what's So go ahead and tell us like what happened.
So y'all, okay. I, not unlike now, because I have a cold. I had a cold right before reset. Like, unfortunately, I got a cold. And I have a sensitive tummy. I'm a little baby with my tummy. And I was like, I'm not going to eat heavy before I speak, so that way I don't have an upset stomach. So I drank caffeine and barely ate anything and took cold medicine on top of that. Y'all, not a good concoction for your stomach, let me tell you. Halfway through the talk, I'm like, I feel a little funky. Something's weird.
This is after you were like showing all these poses on the floor.
Yes, guys. And by the way, when I teach, like, I'm all over the place. Your girl's got ADHD. I don't sit still to save my life. Okay. And I am, after getting up off the floor for a freaking pose, I'm like, I feel off. And I remember saying, that feels weird. And then all of a sudden I felt it. I was like, oh crap, I'm going to throw up. So there are 2 rows and there's like a center aisle like you would for a wedding, y'all. And I decked myself down there and I threw up my guts at least 4 or 5 times while the entire crowd just, hung out and watched me expel my stomach, y'all. It was great. And then, I came up and I just was like, good thing I don't get embarrassed easily.
We were like, do you want to tic tac? Do you want to wash your hands? She's just like, I'm good to go. We're going to finish this.
Yeah, let's do this, guys. Let's do this. And I mean, I felt great afterwards. So I was like, oh, I feel so much better. Oh, let's do this. Because my energy was more at my natural height after I threw up. I was so happy, honestly. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I got that out. I feel so much better, Let's keep going, friends. So, I was about halfway
through. It's a great memory.
Yep, threw up. Great memory. And of course, Kelly, one of the owners of Reset, was watching the class. I don't think any of them have ever attended my past class. So I was like, I'm feeling super special right now, y'all. This is great, But thankfully, they're absolutely wonderful and so understanding. And we finished it, and I think we finished strong.
Just Liz pulling a pitch perfect, man. Like, it was great.
There was definitely
but honestly, like, regardless of this is such good content. So I can't wait for you to like dive in and kind of talk more and more about this. So she's going to kind of keep going from that. You can visualize this happening in the middle of her talk if you really want to. If you have a light stomach, just ignore.
Yep.
So yes.
I'm sure the video's on YouTube somewhere at this point. Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, so we're going to go back to the fundamentals of posing as she was talking about. But
even before that, we should talk about getting the clients in the zone.
Yes.
So
yes.
Here's the thing, y'all. We're going to talk about like getting into the fundamentals of posing, but if you do not prep your clients before even getting to the posing part, you're going to fail. And the fact that you just are not going to love the images as much, and your clients won't love the images as much if you do not do the prep work beforehand to make sure that your clients are feeling comfortable and confident and positive leading up to the session. So for me, I like to do a couple things to getting them into the zone. Now, do you want to hear before getting in the zone, or do you want to hear the getting in the zone when I first like connect with them during the session?
Let's talk about the prior, because like you send a questionnaire, correct?
Yes.
So let's kind of talk about, you don't have to go over the questionnaire, although everyone's probably like, give it to me. But like,
I'll give you a couple.
Kind of talk about like the difference between like the questionnaire and arriving.
Yes. So I like to prep my clients with like a confidence guide, which is my prep guide. And if, by the way, I have a shop that I sell that for anyone. If you want to ask questions later, DM me on Instagram. Yeah. I'm totally a messenger, like voice message kind of gal. But I send that out and I send the questionnaire, and the questions on the questionnaire help me for the prep at the beginning of the session and how I shoot. So questions like, do you feel self-conscious about anything? Do you have a favorite side of your face? Do you have favorite style of images, like close up, far away, looking away? Yeah. Do you like serious? Do you like laughter? Do you like, smiley, whatever. So I asked different types of questions to get to know what is their vibe? What do they love? What makes
Yeah.
them feel confident and what makes them not feel so confident? Because when I show up to a session, I like to use this as an example. I don't like getting photos higher up of me because I just have a larger forehead. And I know that. And I'm okay with that. Like, yes, queen, slay for the larger forehead. That's fine. But I'm not a huge fan of images where the camera's above, where I see like mainly my forehead. I have curves. I love my curves. Maybe someone's self-conscious about their own curves and they only photograph me from up above because in their head, they're like, everyone's self-conscious of that. But if she or he delivered that gallery, I wouldn't like most of the images because it wasn't my curves that bothered me. So I think it's really important to know these things before you show up to a session. That way you can truly deliver images that make your clients feel like their best selves, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like the prep beforehand. When I show up to the actual session and I'm trying to get them in the zone of the fact of I just do a couple different things to make sure they're feeling good. Few things. One, I don't typically, well, first I like to give them a couple tips to start off. So I can be like, hey, okay, so just to give you a heads up, I'm always going to tell you what to do with your hands, so you don't have to worry about that. I typically will have you keep an eye out on your shoulders. Everybody likes to hunch their shoulders when we're a little stressed, or that's just very common. So just keep an eye on that. With your hands, if you're doing any posing with your hands, so if you tilt a body sideways, friends, and I put the hand that's closer to the camera on my neck, it's going to look like I don't have a neck. It'll look like a turtle popping out a shell, like turtle. So I'll give tips like that, and they're like, okay, because they might just want a little prep work because they've never done this before. That's scary, So I will give a couple tips right off the bat with something like that. The next thing I do is I make sure that throughout I'm hyping my people up. Like I love loving on them. And so, for example, if I'm taking a picture, I'm not sitting there quiet like shutter, 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 shutter. The client's sitting there awkwardly, and I know that internal thought process going like, oh, should I move my hand? Should I be smiley? Should I be serious? When they start questioning you, you know that you're not communicating well. So
I love the thought of like the 5-second rule. Like, do not let that many seconds go by where nothing is said. Even if you have to like talk about what settings you're doing, like they don't care, but just keeping it from being completely silent, because then they're going to be like, do I look somewhere else? Do I stop? Do I relax? Like, what do I do? Like, and then, they start feeling self-conscious, like they're doing something wrong. And I think a lot of times newer photographers struggle with this because they're really trying to fumble through things. But I think it's okay to just say like, I'm just going to try something different. Just hold on. You're doing great. Like just talking them through it, I think is a huge thing.
It's just communication,
Yeah.
A great marriage always has communication. It's the same thing across the board, friends. Like if you're trying to make a connection with a client, have good communication. And if you need a couple seconds to review something, let them know. I'm always like, I don't feel like you have to rush through it. And some people think, oh, I have to constantly talk and I don't know what to talk about. For me, just a quick example, I'm over here like, this looks great, guys. Oh my gosh, like queen, you're doing amazing. Let me look at my settings real quick. I just want to slightly adjust a few things. I'm looking at just the past images too and make sure everything looks sharp. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Stop it, like queen. Okay, I think we're good now. That's just like a quick example, y'all. Walk through it. Let them know what's going on. Communicate with them and uplift them. And y'all, think about it. It's one thing for a mom to be like, you look so good. Okay, mom, you have to say that. You're my mom, versus someone that's constantly like, oh, you look so good. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. You're a natural. You're going to be like internally like, okay, oh, I feel good. Nice.
That's something where I'm like, I say it at every session. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like I get more excited when I get more excited, I get higher and louder and like talk faster and faster. But I'm like, I'm sorry I'm talking so much. If I'm being really annoying. And I've had several times where like, no, it's helping. Like they'll just say, because they're like like there's no emotion. So I'm like, am I really annoying them? Like what's going on? And then they'll say, no, it helps. And I was like, okay, it's just their personality is just a little bit different. Yeah. It's just funny.
Absolutely. And I'm the same way. I'm obnoxious, honestly, y'all, and I know it. But all my people know it too. That's what's important. Like I make that very
Yeah.
clear. If you go on my Instagram, you'll have at least one video of me making wacky noises. Like from reels or stories, especially. Like I am like just a wild woman. And I'm okay with that. I have accepted that fact, friends. I have accepted that fact.
I love it. Oh my goodness.
But okay, so that's kind of like just getting into it of getting your
Yeah.
clients in the zone, getting them comfortable. Then we're starting to get into the actual fundamentals that we were talking about.
Mm.
So I have a couple different things that I do. And first things first, I use an acronym. I said that right. Acronym. That's right. Okay. Words of wording,
I
friend.
love it.
Okay.
Yes.
And my acronym is SSLLM, which is sitting, standing, leaning, laying, moving. So when I start a session and I'm going through locations and popping in different spots, I'm thinking, have I done a sitting photo? Have I done a standing photo? Have I done a leaning? Have I done a laying? Have I done a moving? If you want to get a little special in there, add kneeling in there as well. Gosh, I wish one of those was a vowel. Like, can I buy a vowel, please? Because I could create it to a word. But SSLLM, sitting, standing, leaning, laying, moving. The next step to that is, what have I gotten for different poses of, have I gotten a close up? Have I gotten a half body? And have I gotten a full body? So if I'm like, okay, I want a sitting photo, have I gotten a sitting close up? Have I gotten sitting half body? And have I gotten a sitting full body? So I'm working through those. And then
Yeah.
my third layer to that is, what am I doing with expressions? Get a laughing photo, a smiling, and a glancing away. I like to tell, there's a freebie in here, y'all.
Yeah.
I always like to say, act like there's a boy over there and he's flirting with you and he's like, hey girl, how you doing? And you're like, oh, that's so funny. And glance over and laugh. Okay. And I love acting it out myself because it always gets my girls to have an authentic giggle
Yeah.
versus telling them this story. Like, be involved in the story. So that's just a side tip. So,
well, and I think too, like when photographers are going into these, like they don't realize how this right here, even like even if you if you do the bare minimum, changing the different ways of like close up, far away, mid, like that's going to give you a lot of variety. And then you get the posing and then the expression. So like you could probably get tons of stuff in just 5 minutes with just all of those things. And I think sometimes we get so standard where we're stuck with one focal length. And a lot of times, like when you have a prime lens, sometimes you don't think to like move on, like move around.
Oh God. Don't be a tree, y'all. We roots. We're not
yes.
to the ground, friends.
Yeah. So that's something where it's like, I've had friends that have helped me with weddings and things like that. And I'm like, okay, let's get a little variety. Like, let's change it up. Let's not stay at that one focal length. And you don't even have to switch your lens. You just have to move your body, like move back further. Like I'm an 85 girl. Like I will go to Timbuktu if it means I'm getting the shot.
Yeah. All about that life. If I love my lens and I know I can achieve the thought, like the vibe I'm going for, I'm like, I just move my butt around. And guess what? Extra calories burned. Okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is why our bodies hurt so much afterwards. But so kind of tell us, like, what are some things that you change a little bit based on like the gender of our senior or things like that might change a little bit, especially when it comes to posing?
Yeah. So obviously we have guys and girls. And how someone identifies, and someone maybe might be gender neutral of like how they want their posing to be, and that is totally fine. I think people do not realize how easy it is. I get all the time that people say, I can't photograph guys. When in reality, this is the way I look at it. All you're doing is you're adjusting your posing from feminine to masculine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, a good example, if anyone wants to look this up, look at TV posters. And I like to use the example of like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, she has this like bold, outgoing look versus like Catwoman, where her shoulders might be more inward. Because women, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, we focus more on inward and focusing on the curves. Where a guy, he's more broad, he's more out there. So for a guy, I'm looking at getting his shoulders straight on, shooting at a lower angle because they want to appear taller. And so I might have a pose that I use for females. So then with the pose, I might just slightly adjust the hand. So if I had her playing with her hair, I might have a guy just brush the top of his hair instead of doing like the twirl at the bottom. Okay. Um, and then I'll shoot at a lower angle for him to appear taller. And I just made micro adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So really look at the poses that you might go to on a regular basis and say, how can I make this look more masculine? What's a slight adjustment I can do to make this just feel more masculine? That is my highest recommendation, because when we change our perspective on that, I think it makes it a lot easier for us to adjust our session flow and make it work for guys or girls.
Yeah. So when you feel like, for someone who, like, I feel like sometimes we can find more variety in girls. So like when we're feeling a little stagnant, or like we're doing the same thing with guys, what would you suggest when you are running through that sitting, standing, leaning, laying, and providing movement for guys? What would you say to someone who's like, I feel like I keep doing the same thing for every location?
Well, first things first, practice. Practice trying new things. And use every single accessory around you. Guys have accessories too, and people are like, "What?" Even the shirt off their freaking back. You can have them play with their collar and adjust their collar, or you can have them adjust the bottom of their shirt. So having both hands and like, and I'm trying to think of like a washboard. You know when you wash your clothes and you put your
Yeah.
that's the
Your
best
wash
I can
your
get.
washboard abs.
Yeah. So like you're slightly adjusting the shirt at the bottom. That way it looks like they're just playing with their shirt. They're playing with their watch. They're adjusting their jacket. They're playing with their hair. They're rubbing their neck like they have like a kink in their neck. Yeah, they might have jewelry. Some guys do mess with jewelry, so it could be like adjusting
Mhm.
your necklace on or like tying your shoes. That's another one people never touch. Look at your accessories. Stop going for the standard of what people typically go for. And I want you to sit
Mhm.
down and write a list for yourself of what is every single piece on a guy and how can I use it? And that way you can go into it and be like, okay, I haven't adjusted this. I haven't adjusted this. And then you can just add it into your workflow of sitting, standing, leaning, laying, moving to elevate the photo.
Mhm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That, I mean, that's, I feel like, a big barrier for a lot of people, where they're like, I feel like I just keep doing the same thing for the guys because
Mm-hmm.
like this isn't working, or whatnot. So no, that's really good. I like that.
I think
Especially like playing with your outfit. And I think I remember from Reset, you just talked about like, even if they don't have a necklace, like pretend you have a necklace, or
yes.
like just kind of like touching your face, or things like that, where it's like, you know, sometimes like just pretend you have a watch, like even if you
Yeah.
don't have a watch, just pretend you have a watch that you're messing with.
You're just
Like nobody
rubbing your
knows.
hand. And you know what? Another thing on that too is like, yeah, play pretend. Don't, and on top of that, sometimes we might have a standard use of poses we go to. That's fine. But have you rotated your own body to get different positions and different
Hmm.
styles? Like even
Yeah.
sitting on steps. I don't like getting just straight on. I'm going to go side to side to get the leading lines of the steps. I'm going to maybe go above and get just from behind and a guy glancing behind me
Yeah.
or a girl glancing behind me. Um, Rotating your own body, even if you're using similar positions over and over again, you're going to realize how much more potential and how much more shots you're getting just for the fact that
Yeah.
you personally are moving.
Yeah, I love that. That's always a good tip from, for either guys or girls or non-binary, like you could do either or. When you are working with someone and you're trying to figure out what they want to appear more feminine or more masculine, do you add that to your questionnaire then, or is that like something you approach when you arrive, like, or are
So
you like feeling it out, like how do you go about that?
A couple things. Well, first thing is on the questionnaire, I ask how do they present? Like, do you like going
Okay.
by he, she?
Yes.
I've had a mixture of clients and I want to respect their boundaries on that.
Yes.
And that alone is my first thing. Second thing, I have a whole section on style, and that gives me a big clue on what their vibe is. And then
Mm.
also, like, not to be a creeper, but I creep on their Instagram friends. Like,
Yep.
you know, I can see what their style is. I can see how they interact with their friends, and it gives me a
Mm-hmm.
better idea of what is their natural state and what type of images they like. Even if they post stuff,
Yes.
they might not even fully know what they truly love. So sometimes looking at their
Love that.
Instagram or their parents' or their parents like Facebook, if they have pictures of them, so on and so forth, will give me a better idea of what their vibe and
Yes.
how they represent themselves.
I love that. Yeah. Just one way to make them feel more comfortable in any client, like just to kind of see, I like doing your due diligence basically. Um, that's definitely something I do too. I'm always like, am I a creeper?
Yeah.
I'm just checking out their Instagram and so forth. So
I'm just
yeah.
checking outfits. I swear. I promise. It's nothing crazy.
Oh yes.
But yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah.
another thing I would say that we didn't touch on with that too is with hands, because we always are like, what the heck do we do with our hands? And this goes for guys or
Yeah.
girls. My quick tip is working your hands down your body.
Mm,
So, have
yes.
I done something above the head? Have I done something resting on the head? Have I done something resting on the neck? Have I maybe hugged myself around my arms? Have I done anything with my hips? Have I leaned down and like touched my knee while I'm like lapping towards me? Working your hands down your body just to elevate the body position in the photos that you're taking, just slightly tweak it. If you're always doing a
Yeah.
photo where they're crossing their legs at the bottom, for example, think about working their hands down the body. Okay, well, I've done something, with her putting her hands on her hips. If I work her hands down her body, what else can I do? And I think just that
Yeah.
like tip alone can make you start thinking about the several things you can do from going from top to bottom of your body, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And as a full figure girl, I remember specifically how you were talking about like when it comes to like hugging yourself, like what is more flattering for someone who might be a little more full figure and they're like, I can't wrap my arms all the way around. What are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Like what
Yep.
was that approach? Can you remind me how you
Um,
stated that?
Well, so I just know from I look at their insecurities, and I also know from just I think this is just practice of knowing, okay, there's
Mm-hmm.
certain poses that might not work for someone that might be a full figured type of body. So if they have thicker arms, it's hard because when you wrap around yourself, you feel like you're enclosing everything around you. And it
Mm-hmm.
might be harder because you can't reach your hands around you as much. So the position and the pose doesn't look as organic and comfortable.
Yeah.
So if I look at someone, I can tell right away of like what poses that are I can go towards, and there's very few, quite frankly, that you cannot use.
Mm.
Obviously, there's ways to make someone look unflattering. Don't get me wrong, but I really am a firm believer that you can use almost every pose for anybody. It just is based on what they're confident in and what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I'm okay with images that are shot lower up, even if I have a double chin. Like, I'll just call my double chin like Fred and George, and I just got two, I just make them. I don't care. It's
I
fine.
love it.
So yeah, knowing your client on that and then adjusting your posing. But that's a thing. A lot of people limit their posing based on someone's
Mm-hmm.
figure. Do not do that. Do not do
Yeah.
that. Go off of what they're confident in and then use that posing to your advantage. I have had
Yeah.
several clients that have come to me that they consider themselves plus size, and they're like, I wanted to go with you because you're good at you'll
Mm.
do anything and you won't limit yourself. I really like that you do these different
Love that.
positions. And I'm all about that because I want to see you as who you are. I love you for who you
Mm-hmm.
are. And that's what I want to embrace to my full extent without any preconceived notions of what I find is my personal limitations and things that I worry about myself. I mean, I don't want to put that on someone else. So, side
Yeah.
tangent, but yes.
Well, and I think it's good to mention too for those who are newer, and as we were talking about like continually praising, I think sometimes when you're newer and you're like trying to figure things out and you're seeing it's not working, I think it's important to never say, "Oh, not like that" or something like that. just constantly say, well, let's try this. Let's try
Yeah.
that. Ooh, I think this would make it even better, rather than making it sound negative, like keeping it positive all the time, even if it's like, oh, it's not working. Like, and because you're like training yourself to like direct a little bit better, is to make sure you're putting a positive spin still and not saying like, ooh, like, and your facial expressions too. Like you got to control those because you don't want them to feel self-conscious, again, like building them up. So
For
you can
sure.
tell them it's almost like you feel like a fraud, like you're lying, but like you're like,
Yeah, you're
okay,
just
well, let's try this,
no,
let's try
yeah.
that, you know, like,
I never put the fault on the client. I never put the
yes,
because it's
never.
like, think about all the clients. I know we all had it where they say, I'm not a natural in front of the camera. I don't
Yes,
look good in
it's,
front of the camera. I don't know how to do
yep,
this. All these things. So when you introduce doubt by saying like, "Oh, you're not doing that right. Oh, I would adjust that.
yeah,
I don't think that's right." Girl, you're struggling with this. Saying stuff like that is going to bring down that confidence and
yes,
then in the longevity hurt your entire session. So don't even comment. Instead be like, this is my go-to. I'm like, y'all, I am not explaining this well because first things first, sometimes I am bad at explaining things. So that's a legitimate excuse.
yes,
Okay. Let me personally come over. I'm just going to slightly adjust you if that's okay. Ask permission and then go to town.
yes,
Or I'll be like, girl, you are amazing. You're doing perfect. Now that I see it, I'm not a fan of this pose and that's on me. Let's try something else. And I will tell them at the very beginning, sometimes I put you in a pose and then I realize I don't like it because you have a longer torso than I do, but I won't know until I sit you down and actually try it out. So if that happens, I'll just straight up tell you because I don't want to deliver something in a gallery that you don't love. And my clients are like, I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. So knowing
yeah,
that right at the beginning sets the expectation that when I adjust them and I say, this is not working, this is on me. I thought it would
mm-hmm.
work, but my brain is saying no. Okay. So let's move on, friends. And they're
Yeah.
happy with that. No one takes it personally.
Well, and chances are those who think that they're bad at photos is because they had a photographer that was negative. And so,
Yeah.
or the people that have taken photos on their iPhone have constantly criticized. And it's like, well, you haven't worked with me. So, like, when you work with me, you're going to realize you're completely natural. Like, so, and that's a big thing. Like, I get a lot of couples, I get a lot of seniors that are worried that they like won't look great. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do wrong. Like, we're just going to make you as natural as possible. And so that's a huge thing that you can change the perspective from the future for the future for that specific client, is to just give them that confidence afterwards, which was your number one thing of
100%.
starting in that. So yeah, love it.
I love it.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to figure out if we missed something here. We got on a tangent, guys.
We did go on tangents. I'm okay with
Yes.
tangents, but it's a lot. Yeah.
I love it. Let me see here. Yeah, we talked about continuing to go in there and not letting any doubt set in. Um, yeah, so I think there was like one major thing that you really wanted to build up other than what we talked about, but like the confidence piece. Um, but yeah, like trying to make them as comfortable as possible was like the main thing. Is there anything else you would want to add that maybe we like forgot to mention as we were chatting, Liz? I'm trying
I
to
think really
remember.
like to recap, trust is key with your
Yes.
clients, friends. I mean, if you do not create that communication in the beginning and really create the connection throughout, you're going to
Hmm.
have a harder time delivering a gallery that you love and delivering a gallery that they love. I think sometimes we get in our head and we think we need to get these epic shots for
Hmm.
everyone else and for these magazines and forget that we're doing this for our clients, not ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think it comes back to the fact that how am I serving my people and am I serving them well?
Yes.
Are we loving on these people and are we giving them the opportunity to understand that they're beautiful for who they are? That's what we need to
Yeah.
focus on. And when I think about how can I make you feel as beautiful as can be, I think about what prep work I'm doing for that. And when I do it that way, I'm shifting my mindset on what I'm delivering, what I'm sharing with them, how I'm communicating with them. Because my end goal at the end of the day is to make you feel more confident when you walk out of my studio than you did when you walked in. We all have these
Yeah.
preconceived notions, and we've been told our entire lives of like, this is what it looks like to be perfect,
Yeah.
especially women with social media, advertising, all that shenanigans. Ooh, I could go on a tangent of that for days. Ugh. But it's this is your opportunity to give these people a chance to say, yeah, that's not the case. I love you just as
Hmm.
you are. You're astounding for just as you who you are, and I can't wait to celebrate that. And when you go in like that, you're going to have so much of a better chance of not only the client having a phenomenal time, which will enhance them just liking the images in general because they had a blast,
Hmm.
but delivering a gallery that they truly love and it makes them feel like them. So if anything you walk away with when it comes to posing, when it comes to prep, all of these things, come back to the fact that how are you making your clients feel, and are you making them feel comfortable throughout the entire process?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a huge thing of like they're going to remember more about how they felt than how they were looking, and they're going to look back on things and remember like the confidence they were feeling during their session rather than like, oh, that looks weird. They're going to be like, oh, I felt really good about this one. Like, I'm excited to see this one. um
Yeah,
I think that's a huge thing that you can really give a client. So
for sure.
so
I,
good.
I do talk about more of this like in my mastermind and all the prep work, because the questionnaire is just like a small sliver of what I do to prep
Hmm.
my clients beforehand to make them feel comfortable. So that is just one key tip, friends. Like you can do a lot of things beforehand, so that when you show up to a session, you guys are already besties and you don't feel like there's as much groundwork to cover to make someone feel comfortable. Because we obviously, I mean, we all have had clients that are super, super nervous or self-conscious. So I really do believe the foundation of that is working with them beforehand and connecting with them and doing several different key pieces to make sure they feel comfortable when they come into the session itself. So yeah, yeah. And if
I
you
love
guys
it.
want to know, I do have the mastermind. Doors open in November. It is a senior mastermind. It's just focused on if you are a high school senior photographer and how to elevate your business and how to maximize your income with that, and how I run senior teams, which is a whole nother conversation, friends. Whole nother
Yes.
conversation.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm always interested to see how they're changing year after year because it adapts
So
with each
crazy.
generation, and so like the continual like move on to that. But um Liz, I can't believe we're getting to the end. Where can we find you on the web so that they can come find all your crazy, cool, fun, colorful things of Liz? I love it.
So I have two Instagrams. I have the Grad Academy, which it's the underscore grad underscore academy. That is my education page. I actually just started it this year. I've been doing education for a while, but your girl just needed to split it in half. So um, that's where you'll find everything education wise. I also have a TikTok that has a ton of educational content that's for free, which is Elisabeth Ann Photo. My photography name is Elisabeth with an S. Fun fact. Elisabeth and Anne photo. And then I have my main Instagram, which is Elisabeth Ann Photography. So you can find me there. I also have a shop at elizabethannphotography.com/shop, and you can view anything, whether it's doing one-on-ones or buying one of my online resources like the Posing Playbook. What we talked about today, I have a little sliver of that. Like that's just a little section in the Posing Playbook, and it walks through all of these examples of sitting, standing, leaning, laying, moving. It gives you some prep work beforehand, all that jazz. So you can find all that shenanigans with everything I just told you.
And guys, it's totally worth it. Believe me. I've even just sitting through one of her classes, I'm like, yes, this is good information. It's going to get you out of that stagnant rut where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm doing the same thing all the time. I want to give more confidence to my clients. This is what you want to get to. So don't miss that. Head over to her website, get all of that. Um, if you want to keep following the podcast, you can find us at Kara Haynes Photography /podcast, or you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Cameras and Coffee Podcast. Don't forget to head to Apple Podcast and leave a review. Don't just click those stars. Head over and tell us what you loved about the episode. Tell us what you loved that Liz taught you today. We would just love to hear some feedback so that we know how to continue giving you great content. Liz, thank you so much for coming on today. This is just a
Absolutely.
small piece of the big puzzle. So I'm so glad that you came on and shared. And I've been looking forward to this forever. So yeah.
inviting me. I was so excited
Yes.
for today. It was absolutely a blast. And obviously go follow her if you don't. I'd be shocked if you're not following her, but she's such a freaking sweet soul. So please make sure to support and love this wonderful podcast. And come connect with us and reset.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The link will be in there. Come find us. We'll be by the beach. Or on the dance floor.
Margarita at the end of the day with a full stomach, okay?
Ooh, yes. Well, friends, until next time, I just want to say cheers.